Hello, my name is Gabsy and I've been working on an independently animated show. Come with me and watch my journey so far and the things I've learned to get there. Alice into Digital Madness is a project I've been working on since I graduated from university. I'm a 3D animation graduate who, after university, I felt a bit lost. However, I did what I do best and I tried working on something. Several of my previous works at uni have taught me my strengths and weaknesses. Knowing those, I can work with them and plan ahead to what I might need to have more time for. My main strength I learned was that a lot of my stories I enjoyed creating were using fairy tales as a base and twisting them into a new story. My final film at university was a Cinderella-based story, but I had several different elements that I had changed from the original or I had taken from the Grimm's version of the story. For me, fairy tale adaptations tend to be a copy and paste of the most popular adaptation, usually Disney. So it's more fun to find a new way to use the base story elements to create something new. Following that trend, I did a little project based on Alice in Wonderland. This originally was just for portfolio work, concepting, designing and character creation to show all my steps to a potential employer. However, it quickly ballooned into a much larger project where there's concepts and environments and ideas I just really wanted to create into a full story. The main parts I took were the characters, so Alice being the main character and her journey through Wonderland. The White Rabbit being her companion, and also pushing her further into the story. In my rendition, I have him as a late 90s salesman, as if an advertisement had become a real person. The Cheshire Cat was turned into a Clippy type character, as he's helpful but also not very helpful at all. The Caterpillar is some sort of search engine in his room of books, so with all these parts from Alice in Wonderland, I just wanted some more unique points, so I gained inspiration from other media. The main story I also took from was something that could work well with Alice in Wonderland, so I used the story of the Wizard of Oz. But not that version, nor that one. The version I gained influence from is The Wiz. When I was growing up, I never had access to The Wizard of Oz, but I did have access to The Wiz. For anyone who doesn't know, The Wiz is a 1978 film with a rendition of The Wizard of Oz set in New York, in that dark fantasy style everyone is loving right now online. It also strangely had some German expressionism thrown in there, leading to this large, liminal New York space that both gave me nightmares but also strangely intrigued me. It's always left its mark on me, making me love these weird stories, and I wanted those aspects instead of my own personal story. Unfortunately, having lyrical music is not within the budget, a shame really. The stories of The Wizard of Oz and Alice in Wonderland work well with each other, and I can either merge characters or use them to accentuate the other world of, like, Alice in Wonderland. Using The Wiz gave me a more stable story structure as well. As Alice has somewhere to go, she's less exploring but more following this yellow brick road to get out and find her way home. So while the story is mostly based on Alice, plenty of elements will cross over from The Wiz. Other stories that got tied into this were works from Neil Gaiman. Important to note, this was before the allegations, and researching this made me realise he has a lot of stories with similar theming. The two stories that have the most influence to mine was Coraline and Mirrormask. Both stories follow young girls who travel between worlds, discovering alternative people from their real world until they learn a life lesson that brings them home. Coraline's dark and beautiful mirror world helped me keep in line with making the digital world being this enticing place of beauty, but reality is trapping her there. Both Alice and Coraline have to remember the dangers that lurk there. Mirrormask's world is based on the main character's drawings, a world that she had created. Thus, a lot of the elements would revolve around the books and drawings of the circus, and these elements reflected herself. I used this in my story by having Alice's real-world aspects filtered down into the digital world. In Mirrormask, we also had the Sphinxes as characters who will turn up, so this inspired my story, as I feel like it would benefit from having other characters from different stories showing up to challenge Alice and her beliefs. Growing up, I was always drawn to stories about people being trapped in digital worlds, most notable being Code Lyoko, Sword Art Online, Tron, and most recently the Amazing Digital Circus. In Code Lyoko, you follow a group of kids who are in a fight against Xena, whilst also trying to find their friend Alic3, who is trapped there. They have to sacrifice themselves and their wants for the betterment of the world, and to stop Xena. Sword Art Online was one of the first animes I ever watched, and it was honestly pretty scary the idea of just logging online and never being able to leave. But I always thought it would feel different after you were freed. Do you feel like you're the same person? Would you act differently in this online world? And which feels more like your real body after being trapped so long there? Trod is a series of different films and TV shows. They follow a digital world who seek to overthrow their digital rulers. In the films, there's a real person who's usually trapped there and needs to get out, whilst also helping to free the other programs there. In these films, there's a sense of identity to be found there, where programs tend to look like their respective user. The main character Flynn and his program Clue have to fight in the second films. This dichotomy of characters and how one person can be seen two different ways, there'll always be that comparison between the two. The Amazing Digital Circus had a strong influence on my story. However, it was more that I kind of felt that the setting was kind of cliche. I love the series, but I feel a lot of internet nostalgia tends to prefer 80s to 90s visuals, which I personally have no feelings of nostalgia to, being born in 2000s. I decided that I would want more unique visuals for my show. Recently, on social media such as Tumblr and TikTok, early 2000s styles have become more popular, in particular the Frutiger family of styles. With these, I decided that they would be my main draw art style wise. Frutiger Areo was a style that originated in the 2000s to 2010s, mostly characterised by its use of softer shapes, glossy surfaces, bubbles, and an emphasis on mixing natural visuals and landscapes with their view of what the future tech should look like. There was also the larger use of skeuomorphism, where real-world objects and materials are reflected in the interface. This also reflects some of the ideas I had for my show, where real people and objects were being merged with the digital. Lastly, inspiration was personal anecdotes to help me weave a larger story. It helps when writing to be able to draw from something personal, as you know more in depth the emotions around it. Several of the ideas I gathered were those of a loss of identity, self-destructing people-pleasing behaviours, and also that fear of comparison. I didn't want Alice to be this all-good person. I wanted her to reflect on herself outside of the digital space, as well as seeing her actions in Wonderland. These are the story beats I want Alice to face in her journey. Her challenging and changing or succumbing to the comparison with herself. So with this bundle of ideas and stories, I put them into a blender and my story is created. But if only it was as easy as pressing a button. I started writing my ideas into a Notion. I feel Notion is the best way to organise my thoughts. And being able to write pages about each character and location, it felt like I was making my own little mini wiki for everything. It helps me not have conflicting ideas and that I have a more visual representation of everything. With this, I can plan out what to work on, what I'm missing from my story, and fleshing out the characters. As of now, I have 7 episodes planned, each having a minimum runtime of about 10 to 15 minutes. This is due to me and my team being quite small, and not wanting to overwhelm them. The main story as it stands is that Alice will find herself in this world, and she'll have vague memories of her life before. She'll proceed into Wonderland, and find that she is glitching with no visible solution. This pushes her to travel further into Wonderland to try and find her way out, or to this great wizard, so that she can properly be integrated into the program. Through this journey, she will sacrifice herself, for better or for worse, to live up to an unrealistic expectation others have of her. Seeing the success of many indie shows right now has inspired me to actually try and make this a reality. Also, with the animation industry as it is right now, it is difficult to make a start, so if I can get this off its feet, it would be an amazing accomplishment for me. I also love being able to theorise on shows and having lots of things to talk about, so if I can recreate that feeling for someone else, I'd be overjoyed to see it. Now, the next step is pre-production. However, I feel that I should leave that to a second video due to it being quite a large topic. I hope you like the ideas I've had for this show and that you stick around to see it develop into a pilot. With this show, I have an amazing set of friends who help me flesh out scripts and with designing, and making sure that the story isn't just what I want to see, but also a story that appeals to multiple people. I post most updates about it on my TikTok and Instagram, however I plan on making more of these videos about my process and my work on it. If there's any part of the indie animation process I could help people on, be sure to comment it. I would love to help out and throw my opinion in the ring. I also try to stream on Twitch on occasion, where most times I'm working on something Alice related or with my other side projects. Most tend to be an experiment for Alice. And you can also join my Discord, where I will tend to be talking to people And if you have any other like more in-depth questions about the Alice world, I can always answer it. Thank you for watching, and I hope you stick around. Bye!